at $4 billion in tax relief for Virginia families this year. I've been in the legislature 9 years, I've never seen so much money that we had available, over $6 billion in funds to allocate. And, and so the governor wanted to give back, which we had $4 billion in tax relief for families, and this reflects revenue reductions of $1.6 billion to increase the standard income tax deduction to $8,000 for individuals and $16,000 for joint filers for tax years 2022. So that's $1.6 billion in revenues lost to the Commonwealth because we're giving it back to the citizens. And you gotta look at you gotta get your revenues in balance before you can do all your appropriations, because if you don't know how much money you have, you don't know how much money you can spend. So estimates for the state sales tax on food and personal hygiene products effective January 1, 2023 at a cost of $372.3 million. So that was the sales tax on food and personal hygiene relief. Now that was 1.5%. The sales tax was 2.5%. But we had agreed to reallocate the 1% back to the localities. If we had taken the whole 2.5, we would give the localities back. That was $500 million. And the Senate version said, no, we don't want to do that. We want to let the localities keep the 1%. And I agree with that. I agreed with that as a conferee. I don't think we should take it and give it back in future years if we run on hard times. We run shorter revenues. First thing we would do is not backfill that $525 million to the localities. And then here the localities are faced with a shortfall of revenue. So we didn't do that. We left the 1% with the localities. I think that was the right thing to do. This provides $1 billion in support, $250 for single and $500 for family tax relief, checks to all citizens early this fall. So every married couple and every single filer will get either a $250 or $500 check returned. So that was $1 billion right there within that one appropriation. Allows for a 4-year phase-in of $40,000 income subtraction for all veterans beginning at the age of 55 at a cost of $301 million. So first year you can deduct $10,000. Second year you can deduct $20,000, the third year $30,000, the fourth year $40,000. It caps at $40,000 for veterans 55 years of age and above. And that was something that the Senate Democrats really didn't want to do anything. I mean, they had $10,000 and we got it to $40,000. And I think we may look at modifying that even better. I think age 55 could be probably lowered. Somebody who's 30 years service, went in at 20, retires at 50. Why should we make them wait 5 more years to get a full deduction, or at least start incrementally giving them a deduction? Reflects an increase in the deduction allowable for business interest from 20% to 30%, reducing revenue by $26.2 million. So a business can deduct interest earnings up to 30% now. So that's a 10% increase in the business deductions, which will help businesses conserve. So provides $315 million for a refundable earned income tax credit at 15% of the federal level. That was good also. That increased it to 15% of the federal level. Provides $202.8 million in FY22 to expedite elimination of the accelerated sales tax, which had required Virginia's businesses to prepay their sales tax in June. And that's a good thing for businesses also. They don't have to prepay. Further showing up our reserves includes $1.1 billion in the first year to reflect the mandatory deposit to the Revenue Stabilization Fund in FY23. A separate amendment, HB 29, appropriates $498.7 million as an advanced reserve for an anticipated mandatory deposit to the Rainy Day Fund in FY24 based on the current FY22 revenue forecasts. Our revenues are almost doubling our expectations so far this year. It's unbelievable how much money and the money that's coming to the Commonwealth right now. And it's employment taxes, it's interest earnings on non-employment taxes, it's sales tax. It's unbelievable. I mean, how much revenue there is. And at 3% unemployment, you know, we're doing very well. Also contains language increasing the combined balance total from 15 to 20%. Language further directs the Secretary of Finance to make recommendations regarding the cap and fund of September 2021-22. Let's see here. We're getting into different segments. We're going to, the sheriff is here, and we were increased the starting pay of the deputies to $42,500 and the DOC to $42,500. We have a fund set aside, Sheriff, that I thought it was going to be $100 million. I think I probably told you previously. We ended up reducing that down to about 80 million, didn't it, Matt? 75 million. So there's a fund set aside of $75 million. Craig County is trying to put in a new radio system for their sheriff's departments. The county gave them $1 million and told the emergency services and the sheriffs, you got to go get $2 million somewhere else. Where are they going to go get it? I mean, you know, they need a radio system. So possibly this is somewhere that we can apply for some funds for them, and there may be some things that you knew. I know we signed a letter for you just the other day for something that you need that may qualify there in that application grant that you could get for your department. So, you know, that's necessary statewide. Ben's school employees are getting 5%, state employees are getting 5%. I will say, Ben, I regret to tell you that has to be matched locally. And the local government has to give 2% or more to get any. So if they give 2, the state will give 2, you all get a 4. If they give 2.5, the state will give 2.5, you get a 5. That just seems to be the case always in Richmond. It has to be matched. The perception is you all are local employees and not state employees. I have mixed feelings on that, but I've tried to find a way around it and to fund teachers and in a different fashion, but we haven't gotten there yet on how to do that.
Well,
Sure.
that's a $6,000 raise for that. They said that was really huge. And then there's also, you didn't mention the compressions in there.
That's right.
$100 for every
year.
3 years. After 3 years for every year of service.
That's right. After 3 years,
a lot
everybody gets $100 extra pay for every year of service.
I'm grateful for that.
So,
Very
you know,
grateful.
10 years, that's $1,000 on your salary. That's huge. Yeah, I think, Kevin, the Virginia Sheriff's Association, which you're the president of, sent us what their request was for the sheriff's agencies in the state. And we honored, we funded that strictly along those bylaw lines. So you all got exactly what the Sheriff's Association asked for. So I think, and the state police too. I mean, we funded state police. The state police are funded strictly by the state. You all are funded, some of you by the locality, some by the comp board. So there's a little bit of mix there.
We greatly appreciate you.
Well, you're welcome, and we greatly appreciate what our sheriff's departments do too. I mean, our sheriff's departments do a lot for the Commonwealth, and it's very much appreciated. Largest K-12 budget ever, provides $19.2 billion over the 2022-2024 biennium, $3.2 billion above the 2020 and 2022 biennium budget, a 20% increase. That's huge. I mean, never before have we had a K-12 budget this high. And, I hope we can keep it there. It exceeds pre-recession inflation adjustments. Funding levels exceeds the 2022-2023 ARPA maintenance and effort requirements. Fully funds re-benchmarking, and we're required to re-benchmark periodically. It provides $40.5 million for re-benchmarking. Atypical low cost due to pandemic impacts. But what we did, we went back to pre-pandemic numbers because of the pandemic, the attendance levels were low in classrooms. You know, there's an October date that we assess how many kids are in the seat. And all your funding is based on that October date. So how many kids are in the chair on that day, that's how much of an allocation you get from the state. So this, we went back prior to the COVID to re-benchmark, so we were given a fair appropriation going forward, not a lower funding going forward. It includes $354.5 million to hold school divisions harmless from pre-pandemic re-benchmarking data. So that's what I'm saying. We could have cut $354 million out had we not gone to the pre-COVID benchmarking. 5% salary increases in FY23 and 24 for schools provide $729.6 million general fund for the state share of the pay increases. So that means localities have to pay and the state pays. For SOQ, recognized instructions and support staff, increases effective August 21 and 22 and July 1, 23. Division must provide at least 2.5 salary increases to assess the prorated portion of funds. Bonus payments, and this is pretty unique, includes $124.5 million ARPA monies in FY23 for a $1,000 bonus for funded standard quality positions effective December 1, 2022, no match required. So if it's a standard of quality position, there'll be a bonus December 1, 2022 with no match required of $1,000. Teacher recruitment incentives, this is something else that was new and unique. A $10 million ARPA in FY23 for teacher recruitment incentives, and of $2,500 for a position. So if we have a position that is hard to fill and those positions are identified, there can be up to a $5,000 incentive for someone to come start to be a teacher. So if Allegheny County is having difficulty getting a teacher and it's identified that it's a hard position to recruit, then the locality can offer a $5,000 incentive for somebody to come in and take that position. Target school construction provides $450 million to establish a new competitive construction assistance program, $400 million general fund, $50 million literary fund. Grants equivalent to 10 to 30% of project cost. So it's a grant for up to 10 to 30% of project cost based on the LCI and the fiscal distress. Projects selected based on demonstrated need, financial commitment, and school building conditions. So that's something that I wanted in there because I wanted us to not offer this low grant incentive to just all schools across the Commonwealth, but it's done on the age of the school and the condition of the school. So the older buildings could reach a higher percentage of consideration from 10 to 30%. If the building is older and it's in bad condition, it's not modernized for the Wi-Fi and the necessary needs, those buildings will have a priority and they'll get up to 30% for the locality, which is huge. I mean, let's see here. Formula-based school construction includes $400 million in the general fund FY23 division, permitted to carry over for carryover funds. Each school division receives a base payment of $1 million, remaining matching funds to be distributed through the ADM and LCI. Literary fund loan authorizes $200 million in loans each year and implements several loan programs enhancements. Lower interest rates, 2% rate for low LCI divisions. Higher maximum loan amount increased from $7.5 million to $25 million. Previously, the literary fund could only loan up to $7.5 million. Now we can loan up to $25 million at a low interest rate. You're going to see a lot of new buildings being built because the localities will be able to afford it because they can get a grant, they get a low interest, and they can build the buildings. Includes $271.6 million in general fund to increase support positions funding. Funds 20 positions per 1,000 ADM in FY23, increased to 21 per 1,000 in FY24. So these are support positions, and we got $271.6 million for that. Reading specialists provide $62.5 million in general fund to establish a staffing ratio of reading specialists to provide in HB 319 and SB 616, one reading specialist per 550 students in K3. Provides local flexibility during a 2-year phase-in. So it's been identified there are deficiencies in reading at the earlier age, so we're trying to target that with some funding. Full-time elementary school principals. I don't know if all elementary schools in Allegheny County have principals, but this includes $20.3 million to fund full-time principals in all schools, provides state-supported for about 84 current locally funded positions. Currently, standard quality funds a half-time principal elementary schools with fewer than 300 students. So we have full-time elementary school principals. Retirement cost, it includes $166 million to general fund to fund teachers' retirement costs. But the general fund freeing up literary funds to support school construction. It includes $145.7 million in general fund for VRS and to lower the VRS board. Sales tax on groceries, $158 million. At-risk add-on includes $145.3 million general fund to increase the maximum add-on from 26 to 36 beginning in FY23. College partnerships, we've got $100 million for lab schools. Early childhood education increases $66.9 million to the general fund and several initiatives. Let's see here. Compensation, let's see, Kevin, compensation provides 5% raise in each year for state employees, state-supported local employees, and SMQ funded positions. I tell you, in a budget that's $160 billion, there's a lot. There's a lot of things included in a budget. State police plan, in millions, they get $21.7 million in FY23 and $24.8 million in FY24. DOC officer starting pay to $42K. That was $26.1 million in 23. That's $30 million in 24. Deputy Sheriff's Regional Jails, $42K. That's $38.9 million in FY23. $46.7 million in FY24. Probation officers and pro officers, a $3,000 increase, $3.3 million the first year and $3.6 million the second year. That's a total of $90 million in FY23 and $105 million in FY24. Let's see here. And you mentioned $100 a year, Kevin, and compensation. That's here also.
I also believe there's a
Clerk,
120 some positions that you guys funded for mental health within for every jail.
yes, that's
And
correct.
that's also
That's correct. Now, circuit court clerks, $1.3 million the first year, $1.5 the second year. General district court clerks, $4 million and $4.4 million the second year. That was necessary, and especially with the jury trials that are coming, there's going to be a lot more paperwork associated. Magistrates got $3.9 million the first year, $4.1 million the second year. Let's see here. State employee health insurance. Eliminate savings in the state $12.8 million general fund reduces the cost of premiums charged to employees and retirees not yet in Medicaid for the state employees for health insurance. VRS lump sum payment, conference report HB 29, we're putting $750 million lump sum payment into VRS for the unfunded liabilities there. Let's see. One thing I am disappointed, and Ingrid called me about, is our CSB boards. I don't think they got treated fairly this year, and there was some contention between the Senate and the House on how they should be treated. And there's a study And I hope that next year we can begin to fund our CSBs. The opioid, I will say, not in this budget, but the opioid abatement, there's a lot of money coming to the Commonwealth. I think there's already been like $500 million come. And we appropriated $750 million to study Catawba Hospital, how it can become a behavioral health, mental health, opioid, drug abuse rehab facility. I think those funds can be a lot of those funds can be very well spent there. And I know, Kevin, you all deal with TDOs and ECOs, taking people places. If we can get that facility up and running, and there's a huge campus there the state already owns, the building is there. If we can get that building renovated and you all can take people off there and drop them off, it'll save you from running all over the state. And I firmly believe that if we had 4 or 5 of those facilities positioned around the state, it could really help those problems. So hope that's something we can
It's a
do.
juvenile.
Yes,
That's
right.
one juvenile facility for the whole state of Virginia. Yeah, it's just, and they don't even have, they have a good number of beds, but they don't have the staff to let you fully operate the beds. So I know that's something that you guys are looking into.
That's right. Medicaid providers raised $377 million in general fund to increase Medicaid development disability waivers over the biennium. $77.5 million in general fund for a 30% rate increase for Medicaid dental rates, the first increase since 2005. There's a lot of people who have teeth and dental issues that can't get care and can't get help, and it had gotten really bad, so there's some money there for that. The previous administration had about, I've forgotten the number of waivers. Seems like to me there were like 80 development disability waivers that they just couldn't fill. They never filled. None of that money was ever appropriated to fill those slots. We're going to try to get those filled. We're putting a push on that. Health and Human Resources, there's a lot of money in Health and Human Resources. Higher ed, we didn't put a cap on tuition this year. We typically try to get all the universities to agree to a 4% increase. And we do that and we give them a 4% increase so they won't raise tuition. We didn't do that this year, but we've got somewhat of an agreement with the money that we're giving them that they will not raise tuition greater than 4%. And they're not obligated to that, but they've been told that's our expectation of you. We expect you to stay within that 4% range. Let's see here. That's all higher ed. I don't know if y'all have an interest in that or not, but been $2.2 million for elections. The upcoming election also, and the redistricting. There's $2.2 million in general fund in the first year for a statewide mailer to all registered voters on recent changes to the legislative districts. So you all have money to do that, and $1.3 million general fund in each year for a voter education awareness initiative focused on voting laws and regulations. So that's going to be monies coming to the electoral boards in all counties to make people aware of the new districts they'll be voting in, and then on voting laws also. Commerce and trade, there's a lot of money in commerce and trade. $159 million to improve Virginia's portfolio of business-ready sites, $54 million general fund each year, and an additional $50 million general fund is contingent on the general fund revenue growth. So what we're trying to do there is get business-ready sites. You know, Allegheny County could apply for a grant through the VEDP, and the site could be graded and ready if an industry is trying to come here. Get gas to a site or things like that, water and sewer to a site. Let's see, we had $15.5 million to the city of Roanoke for a business incubator and a lab. Johnson & Johnson was called a wet lab, J&J wet lab there. That money's in the budget. Includes $130 million in federal ARPA funds to support all remaining Rebuild Virginia applications and close out the COVID-19 Business Assistance Program. I mean, we have given so much money because of COVID, it's just unbelievable. and it's still here. And these are federal ARFA dollars that were, and we broke it down into general fund revenues, ARFA dollars, COVID dollars. There was monies from multiple agencies, and we tried to allocate it so it wasn't not a reoccurring appropriation. So let's see. It's probably, I'll tell you, we have $5 million in the budget to build out Green Pastures Park here in Allegheny County. We were successful to get $5 million for that. We paid off the debt, $6 million for Natural Bridge State Park. It was under debt, and the revenues at the bridge were continually growing, but it was going to be many years before we could get out from under the $6 million debt to begin to build that park out. So this year, because we had excess revenue, we built that out. I got $12.5 million in the budget in year 2 to build a rails to trails that will run from Craig County to Eagle Rock. There's a railroad bed there, the Craig Valley Railroad Bed. So that is something that can bring people to Allegheny County and Botetourt County for tourism. They can come ride the trail here, they can ride the trail there, do things there. Let's see, what else could we? Transportation, there wasn't a lot of transportation things other than there's a lot of money for 64 between Williamsburg and Richmond to add a 3rd lane. I'm not a big proponent of that. We need lanes on I-81. There's multiple needs around the Commonwealth for transportation. I will say this, the only way that I did say that I would agree with that expenditure was that is an evacuation route to get people out of Hampton Roads and Tidewater in the event of a hurricane. So, once we build that 3rd lane, I said, don't come asking for any more because we're going to be finished with that expenditure there. We got to go somewhere else. So there was $210 million in the first year and $110 million in the second year. So the spaceport, we spent $30 million on the spaceport over on the Eastern Shore. That's doing very well. So I guess that's just about it. I don't know if you all have any questions, Tiffany, that you want to ask specifically to the budget. I don't want to keep your meeting, but we can eat it and talk, or however you want to do it.
That's fine. We can eat and talk unless somebody has a budgetary question.
Yeah. So, but if you have anything you want to ask, or Jerry, do you have anything you want to ask? I mean, you're the guy with the camera, Jerry.
That
You
would
got all
probably take 2 hours.
Yeah.
Mr. Delegate.
But
Everybody's smiling this year. Great year.
I will say this because Jerry's here, and I think we didn't talk about this. We do have a new district. I'll have a new district, and it was just ruled the Goldman suit was put off. We don't have to run this coming November. The House of Delegates don't have to run until the following November, which is a good thing. And my new district, this new district is District, what, 34? 34 is going to be the new, not House District 19. It'll be the city of Covington, the county of Allegheny, all of Botetourt County, all of Craig County, and 2/3 of Rockbridge County. It'll go over to Buena Vista, follow 60 back over, take in the city of Lexington, and go north to Goshen. That'll be the new district for this House district. I'll no longer cross the mountain over into Bedford. The Senate district will be what I just said, with the exception of all of Rockbridge County. It'll go to Augusta, take in the city of Stanton and the city of Waynesboro. So it's going to be a really big, and it does not have an incumbent. Cree's district got totally changed. His district will now be Charlottesville, and I think he intends to move there. So that's basically, that's been determined. Those are the boundaries. That'll be the district that we'll run in the next November of 2024. So, yep. 2023, that's right. Not 22, 23, yes. Okay, thank you. Jerry, you have anything?
What do you consider the biggest challenge right now in the legislature? Is there any one issue that's really knocking y'all out and, difficult to solve and you're going back and forth?
No, not really. The only issue that was very difficult to overcome was having so much money and returning money to the taxpayers. I've been in the legislature 9 years, and we've never had this type of appropriation money to spend. And it was ARPA monies, it was CARES Act monies, it was growth in revenues. There were lots of reasons why we had more money than we've ever had. But a lot of those funds are not going to be reoccurring. we're not going to see them again. So we had to be very cautious on how we spent them.
And we wonder if the localities have the same appreciation for that they're going to be getting revenues that they've never had before.
Right.
Do they recognize how important it is to realize it's one-time money, don't expect it forever?
That's right. And I think we postured ourselves pretty well in the General Assembly for adapting to that and not having to find revenues in the future because we've overspent ourselves. But a lot of what we did, the sheriff's deputies' pay needed to come up, state police needed to come up, teachers' pays, lots of things we did. We had the revenue through the growth in revenue in the Commonwealth that we appropriated those funds. So hopefully we'll be fine. And some of what we done, doubling standard deduction will revert in 2026 back, and some of those things will revert back that we've given credit to. So, yep. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. $1 billion in expenditures. One delegate, $6 billion. Of course, he didn't get $6 billion, but that's what he asked for. So, you know, a lot of these freshman delegates have never been there when it was a challenge to get $150,000. You know, and now all this money's available, and it's not going to be that way going forward. So, it'll be new times.
I think most of us realize that without your leadership and help, one of the most fundamental things to happen in this area in the last 50 years will become reality on July 1. And I think we all need to thank you for your influence and leadership on that, because combining the schools has made sense for 30 to 50 years, and now common sense has come to Allegheny County. So we have a lot of your help and influence to credit for that, and we thank you very much.
Well, locally, the local people did the work, Jerry. All they asked was for my help with that. And I've told people this. They led that drive and that mission. I took them to Richmond, I introduced them to people. They were told the procedure by which they had to accomplish things to make it happen. And I just worked with them to help that along the path. But the local leadership is who's responsible for actually making that happen. And I give full credit to them.
You also helped them get a lot of money that was able to work that,
Well, we got,
that process and that deal, you know, to bring that together.
I helped get 2 years appropriation in the first year, and $600 million a year sounded like a lot of money, but getting 1.2 million the first year versus 600 helped tremendously. 600,000, not 600 million. 600,000 to get 1.2 million the first year, because you incur the majority of your cost in the first year, and that's something they asked of me, and I was successful to accomplish, which helped them, I think, tremendously. But I still give them the credit. It was strong local leadership.
Well, I can't tell you how many great ideas and good citizen participation there's been over the last 50 years that didn't get anything.
Right.
You know, there was a time when, you know, we needed a bridge over the Jackson River. Well, that only went on for 20 years. I mean, there's all kinds of things.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a happenstance. It's not, you know, it's just highly unusual to have a delegate paying attention to business and sharing the burden and bringing home the bacon when we needed it.
Well, I'll tell you, I think my greatest accomplishment, and I've been criticized a little bit, is 64. I mean Route 220, improving Route 220. When Terry McAuliffe was elected, I went to him and said, we've got a highway in our district that has the highest fatality rate of any primary highway in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and that was Route 220. And he acknowledged it, and he appropriated $150 million. And it was $400 million to 4-lane. And we knew we couldn't get $400 million, we'd been told that, but we took the $150 million. And I think we've got a decent highway now because of it, a lot safer highway because of it. And I would have liked to have had a 4-lane highway as much as anyone over here. But, you know, when you can't get what you want, sometimes you have to settle for what you can get. And that's why we have the road we have. Now, that's not to say in the future we can't go back and get another $200 million and add 2 more lanes. But right now we have to be satisfied with what we have. And I think it's a lot safer. And it's, you know, at least there's a shoulder where someone with a learner's permit and they have an emergency, they have a tire go flat and they have to get off the highway, there's some room to do that. So I feel that's my greatest accomplishment if I do nothing else. So, yep. All right. Thank you, Jerry.
Yes.
Want a car loan with a little get up and go? Our credit union offers quick loan approvals and great rates. Our loans get you on the road fast because we belong to you. Jackson River Community Credit Union. We belong to you. Online at jacksonrivcomcu.org. We're federally insured by NCUA. We're an equal housing lender.